Whoops, almost forgot to watch Stargirl again. So fired up the DC, which I have been using. There's rumors the DC Universe app will probably go, and I think that's probably likely. If it gets folded into HBO Max as is, where you can still access the comic books and all the old shows and stuff, that would be great. I wouldn't mind that. But I think they'll just move the shows to HBO Max, and that'll be that. Because I've been reading a lot of the old comics, and especially catching up on the old Crisis on Infinite Earth series, which is something I might do, because I read the original series and only a handful of the crossover stuff. So now I have access to all the other issues that were crossovers and tie-ins to that series and stuff like that. So, there's nifty things there for a DC fan, but I just don't think the market for DC fans alone is enough to support it, especially when they want to put all their efforts to this monster streaming service of HBO Max. So that's probably where it'll go. Anyway, Stargirl. It's a show that I just can't quite settle on, and it has a lot of CW typical elements in it, teenage soap opera stuff, which I do not like, and silly, stupid things, and yet there are moments in it that I think this is a show that probably could have worked. It has a certain era, or not era, feel of magic to it and all this type of stuff, but it's in a lot of ways clumsy and stupid to a fault. There can be, with a silly show, it doesn't matter. Some of the stupidity won't matter, and it probably might even help it in some aspects of it. But in here, and there's too much departure from the source material, and to, with I was thinking about Dr. Midnight, and they don't have the actual story of Beth Chapel becoming Dr. Midnight. They have this nerd girl who is nerdy to a point of it being some sort of disorder. And in this episode, there's actually a point that's actually, they do it in a kind of a good way. It's very brief and quick, but it has some heart to it in that she's kind of this sad character. She's silly and kind of put there as a comic relief character, but I think they should go more into this kind of disturbing sadness about her, how lonely she really is. She's kind of acting blissfully unaware of this, and that her only friends were her parents, but her parents are disturbed by this, and they want her to meet people. She's meeting people. She's meeting Courtney and Yolanda, and now, what's his name? Iron Man, Rick, for Our Man, and all that. But really, her best friend now are the goggles. And of course, now this again is quite a departure from Dr. Midnight. I don't recall any versions of it. Maybe there was. I'm not really all that up on Dr. Midnight. I've known about him for years, and being part of Justice Society and all that. But the main thing was he was blind, but with his goggles he could see and all that. Now the goggles have this AI in them, and it's based on his own brain pattern, so it's basically him living beyond himself in this AI form. And of course the only one he can talk to is Beth now. so they have this a friendship going, and she's all tickled and just loving all of it, because he knows all kinds of stuff, and because he's basically just a computer, And but at the same time, it's really kind of sad that she's talking to this thing that's not real and whatnot. There again, of course, Courtney talks to her staff, and in a lot of ways, they're all sort of messed up, with the possible exception of Yolanda, who's probably the most normal of the crew. But anyway, the show, in this day and age, has got to do something that pushes you right out of the story with its blatant absurdity. We open up with a football practice, and there's this player gets the ball and is zipping around and manages to make the touchdown, and another player takes the player down, and then surprise, it's a girl. Yes, pulls her helmet off and then gets in an argument with the other guy, who was black. Oh, I don't know if you should be depicting the black as the bully. Oh, and then, but then we got our message of it's the girl, and girls can do anything that boys do, and all this stuff. And now the argument saying, well, this doesn't happen. You know, we don't have girls on football teams. Every now and then there's a kicker, and they'll make a big deal about it and all that sort of stuff. But as far as tackling and making touchdowns and all that, and this girl doesn't look to have the physicality for it. And it's just absurd. But then, well, what the hell? The whole show's about a girl with a magic staff that she can fly with, and a guy has a giant robot in his garage and all that. Yeah, I know, but in the real world, we do have football teams. And this doesn't happen, but it's one of those things, you just feel they have to do it, you know? That being said, it is of interest to note that she is the daughter of the Hunter, well, not the Hunter, she had to change the name to Tigress, and a Sportsmaster, two more villains of the Injustice Society, and we now know that the guy that I thought had the hots for Pat, who runs the gym, he's Sportsmaster, and his wife is the Tigress, and that's their daughter out there. And the coach penalizes her because she hits the other player, even though he tackled her. That's within the play, even though she had already hit the touchdown, so he was out of bounds too. He should have penalized both of them, but he penalizes the girl. Well, Sportsmaster and Tigers don't like that, so they murder the coach in the parking lot. And then Icicle's like, damn it, now you clean this up, you know. So this plays into she's a little pampered princess backed up by homicidal parents. So, hey, maybe there's more to this than we thought. Everybody's like, look, she got to let her on the team because, you know. So anyway, so there you go. There's that. But the overall silliness of it, and I think it might have been better if, again, I think with the lack of material it shows through on these shows, the number of episodes is too many, and they should have focused more just on Stargirl and developed a new Justice Society as they went and gave it time. The characters are getting way too fast into this. The only one that's more or less believable is Our Man, in the sense that he wants revenge for his parents. His life is pretty miserable. His parents leaving him at that young age. It's quite an open wound there, and he's distant and angry, and people don't respect him, and it all fits in with it. I still think it would have taken some time, but it kind of fits with Yolanda. I mean, some of those elements work, but the idea that she would just immediately go with Courtney and all this, I don't know. It's a bit rushed, and then, well, with Beth, she's kind of crazy. so I guess. But anyway, so finally they get together. And they just happen to have an Our Man costume laying around. I don't know if that's supposed to be Our Man's original suit and it fits him or what, but they just show up in it because the goggles detects a signal coming from Dr. Midnight's old enemy, the Gambler, which apparently we now know that the Gambler is the fat guy with the goatee. Didn't know who he was. Now we know he was the Gambler, and he's still committing crimes and hacking and all this. So he's planning to do another move on this, and they want to go attack him. But it's a bit of a diversion. He's actually doing the hacking from his home. Surprise, you can do that. And the Justice Society, as they are lured out by the Tigress and the Sportsmaster, and they attack him and beat the living crap out of them. Basically, Stargirl's the only one who kind of holds her own with them. Of course, Wildcat is not really up to snuff in fighting. She's the boxer, but she doesn't have the martial arts moves that Tiger Lady does. And so you have a cat fight. Of course, Tigress is really skinny, so... But anyway, so they all get beat, even Our Man, who he takes on Sportsmaster. Now, Sportsmaster's a guy who he really does come across as it would have been a perfect villain for the Batman show of Adam West. Because basically he just takes sports items as weapons. He's got a baseball bat. He hits baseballs at Our Man, and he just gets hit by every last one of them. And then he has a hockey stick. He wears a hockey mask as his mask, and uses that to hit an explosive at Stargirl, and it seems to disable the staff for a little while anyway. All that stuff, and Our Man is just not trained for the fight, even though he's got all these superpowers. The Sportsmaster knows how to deal with him, and he pretty much ends up needing to be saved by Stargirl. So they get beat, and then it looks like it might be all over for them. And then here comes Stripesy, of course, or Stripe, the big robot, to save the day. But another mistake they make here is that they know the Sportsmaster has all these weapons, and he keeps lobbing over, balls and whatnot. And he does it again, and they just sit there and wait for it to explode. Fortunately, it's just a smoke bomb so that they can make their getaway, or a flash bomb, what have you. And there you go. Yeah, it's easily one of the weaker episodes when it shouldn't have been, because it's their first appearance together and all that. But it's just so many things that they've taken more time with, because there are elements there that could have worked, and this happens a lot with these shows. And it's like, damn, why didn't you just, and it just doesn't seem to come together. And this is, it's just too silly. The other high school stuff, who cares? There's a science fair. It's always like that with the science fairs. It doesn't matter. It's sitcom, high school, soap opera crap. And that's about it. So the villains, of course, tend to be more interesting than the rest, and that's still true. But there were some moments here that they have where Courtney is starting to see Pat's viewpoint, and they put that in there. It's a little over the top, kind of, in the way it's delivered at the end there, and she, oh, I see what you did there. Okay, but it's a good intent, and about her coming to respect him. And she's trying to defend him to the others, because he's saying you got to get those devices back, because they're your kids. You're going to get them killed and harmed. It's not dangerous and all that. And they're all disrespectful to Pat, and she's having to defend him when she herself was very disrespectful to him. And that's kind of this thing where she's growing more to have respect for him and all that. And he's becoming more of a father to her. I'm assuming eventually they'll get to whether or not she really is Starman's daughter. I'm suspecting she isn't, but then they'll have to explain why does the staff like her and not, Pat or anyone else. Who knows. But that's, a story they'll probably delve into. Maybe not this season. It'll go into the next one. But anyway, the other thing that's worrying me about it is they keep talking about the Injustice Society's master plan, which is something about making America safe and all this. Like, they have this noble intent because they have kids now, and so they're in their warped view. It's a noble attempt to protect your kids and make the world a better place for them. But of course, they're all supervillains. So what would it mean? And they reveal here that the plan can't go forward without Brainwave, and they reveal that the principal who had the violin and went in and played it with Brainwave being in a coma, and is that, what's that about? Are they saying there's a villain called the Fiddler? And and some suspicious. Oh no, they're going to say the Fiddler had a sex change. No, it turns out she's the wife of the Fiddler. He apparently is no longer with us. He passed away. So, and she knows how to use his fiddle to do whatever it does. So there you go. They explain that, and very simply, it's a little dialogue. The Justice Society's having a meeting, and they're discussing it. But they mention that without Brainwave, their plan won't work. So I'm thinking it's some sort of massive brainwashing scheme to take over the country or whatnot, and make it the way it should be. And I just know at some point they're going to say, we're going to make America great again. I think the temptation is just too hard for them to do that, to deny it. But, I would hope not, because, again, you do stupid things that can push you right out of the story. And we're back to a political campaign ad. And that's the kind of thing you go. If there's some clever way to embark on it, I rather doubt it. I mean, come on. It's this, superhero soap opera show. But then again, like I said, the girl on the football team, wait a minute, it's a message that only homicidal psychotic parents would do such a thing. But anyway, so, it wasn't that great. Our Man's costume looks pretty good. I'll give him that, but that's about it. This was probably one of the weakest episodes of the series so far. This was the sixth one? Yeah. So, yeah. So, at some point, I guess if it just continues like this, I'll just have to, I've seen worse, but that's not a reason to watch it, So, anyway, there you go. The sixth episode of Stargirl.
All right. Thank you for watching and listening. Why not like and subscribe and check out that link description below. That'll take you to my mini stores and have plenty of goodies for you. Hats, mugs, stickers, posters, all that goody stuff. Plus, you can head over to indieplanet.com and pick up a copy of my comic book Night Night. Oh, yeah. Plus, you can also catch my podcast, Mr Nailsin Show, over at RadioMisfits.com. And you can also watch my videos on my channel at BitChute. That's the Mr Nailsin channel on BitChute.com.